"We won't be coming to your kid's birthday, we're busy," my dad texted. I said okay. On her birthday, my sister posted, "Family first." Her kids were surrounded by designer bags, a PS5, and a new puppy. It was all from my parents. My daughter saw it and just went quiet. I quietly did what I had to do. By morning, they deeply regretted it. My dad texted the night before my daughter's birthday. Just 3 words. "We're busy. Sorry." That was it. No reason, no call, no warm, "Give her a hug from us." It was like canceling a dentist appointment. I stared at the screen for a while. I didn't reply right away. My first instinct was to type out something sharp, something that would cut. But I deleted it. Then typed something else. Deleted that too. In the end, all I sent was, I didn't want to give them the satisfaction of knowing they could still hurt me. Emma had spent the whole week planning this day. She made handmade invitations for the 3 people she cared most about, her 2 grandparents and my sister. Her little hands had spent an hour folding colored paper into hearts. The night before, she told me she couldn't wait for Grandpa to try the cupcakes. "He always eats too," she giggled. They didn't come. The next morning, while we were still cleaning up leftover streamers, my phone buzzed. Instagram notification. My sister Julia had posted, "Family first 2 hearts." It was a photo of her living room. Gift bags from Gucci, Sephora, Nike. A brand new PS5 still in its box. A mountain of wrapped presents. And right in the center, a tiny white puppy with a bow around its neck. Her boys were beaming. My parents were in the background holding up balloons and smiling like they'd just won the lottery. Everything in the picture was labeled, from Mom and Dad. Emma saw it later that afternoon. She didn't say a word. Just walked over, showed me the screen, then went to her room. She didn't cry. She didn't ask why they weren't here. She didn't ask about the puppy. She just got quiet. I sat at the kitchen table in that silence. You know what it's like when the truth lands? It doesn't explode. It just settles like dust. And then you see everything clearly. That's when I decided. After she went to bed, I opened my laptop. For the last 14 months, I'd been sending Julia $850 a month to cover part of her mortgage. Quietly. No big announcements. Her husband had lost his job, she was trying her best, and our parents said they couldn't help, too tight on money. So I helped. I logged into the bank and stopped the payments. No warning. No text. Then I did more. I restructured my business account, opened a separate savings, rerouted everything so that no one could touch a cent connected to me. They wouldn't know yet, but it wouldn't take long. Julia depended on that money. My parents depended on me covering for Julia. Not anymore. If they could show up for puppies and PlayStations, they could show up for a mortgage. I didn't tell anyone. I just waited. Because the next hit was coming. They just didn't know it yet. By Tuesday morning, Julia's name lit up my phone. Twice. I didn't answer. Then the text came in. "Hey did your payment bounce? Can you check? We're short this month." Short. That was the word she used. Like the $850 I sent every month just dropped out of the sky and vanished. Like it wasn't me who kept her lights on while she posted grateful vibes, selfies with iced coffee and fresh lashes. I waited a full day. Let her wonder. Then my mom called. She didn't waste time with pleasantries. "Your sister says your payment didn't come through. Is everything okay?" I said, "Yeah, I'm fine." Silence. She was waiting, expecting an apology or at least an excuse. I gave her nothing. Then she said, "Emily, you know Julia's really struggling. You have to think about family sometimes." Family. That word again. Over and over with them. Used like a weapon, but only when it benefited Julia. I ended the call without another word. By Thursday, Julia left a voicemail. Her voice cracked halfway through, said the bank fees were piling up and she needed to know if I'd be sending anything at all this month. Still didn't reply. That same night I got curious. I pulled up some public property records and found what I already suspected. My parents co-signed her mortgage. The bank had them on the hook too. So now they weren't just mad, they were exposed. Friday morning I woke up to a text from my dad. Not a short one this time. He wrote a full paragraph about how disappointed he was in my behavior, how this was not how family resolves things, and how I was being cruel to Julia's kids, over what he called a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding. Emma's birthday came and went with silence from all of them. But sure, let's call it that. He ended the message with, "If you have something to say, be mature enough to say it." I didn't say a thing. But the next day I heard from the mortgage company myself. Not directly, through a forwarded notice Julia accidentally CC'd me on. She was late again. They were demanding immediate payment. And that's when the cracks started to widen. By Saturday afternoon, Julia wasn't begging anymore. She was furious. Sent me 3 messages back to back. Said I was abandoning her. Said I blindsided her. And my favorite, she actually wrote, "I didn't even do anything to you." That one made me laugh out loud. Emma and I were at the park when the last message came in. He said, "You don't punish your family this way." Funny. That's exactly what I'd been thinking since they skipped my daughter's birthday. Sunday morning, a knock at the door. My mom. No warning, just standing there with her cardigan and forced calm. Emma was watching a movie in the living room, so I stepped outside and shut the door behind me. She said, "Can we talk about this like adults?" I said, "Sure. You might want to call the bank first." Her face changed instantly. She wasn't expecting that. I turned and went back inside. She didn't follow. Later that night, I got a message from my dad again. Short this time. Just 4 words. "We need to talk." But I didn't feel like talking. Not now. Let them explain to the bank why Julia's account is suddenly empty. Let them figure out how to fix a mess I've been quietly cleaning up for over a year. They made their choices. So did I. By Monday morning, I expected more texts, more blame, maybe another surprise knock. But instead, everything went quiet. Too quiet. Around noon, I got a call from an unfamiliar number. I let it go to voicemail. When I played it back, it was a woman from the mortgage company, not just customer service. This one was collections escalation. She politely explained that Julia's account was now 2 months behind. She also mentioned that co-signers are now being actively notified. I saved the voicemail. Still, no one said anything to me directly for 2 days. Then Wednesday night, I got an unexpected visitor. Not my mom. Not Julia. It was my Uncle Rob. Now let me explain something. Rob is my mom's older brother. We haven't talked much over the years. He lives about an hour away and mostly stays out of family drama, but he's the kind of guy who sees through everything. No nonsense. No fake smiles. He stood on my porch holding a bag of takeout and said, "You eat yet?" I hadn't. So we sat in my kitchen while Emma was asleep upstairs and he laid it all out. Turns out he saw the Instagram post too. The one with the puppy, the designer bags, the family first caption. His wife had shown him. Said she felt bad for Emma. And guess what else? Rob had no idea I was the one helping Julia with her mortgage. He thought it was my parents all along. That's what they told everyone. That they were keeping Julia afloat. I laughed. Actually laughed. Of course they did. Rob looked me dead in the eye and said, "You're not wrong for cutting them off. Just surprised you didn't do it sooner." We talked for over an hour. About my parents. About Julia. About how Emma was doing. And then, this is the part that actually caught me off guard, he told me something that made my stomach turn. Julia had been telling people I was too selfish to help her. That I made way more than she did, and just watched her struggle. All that time I was sending $850 a month, she was framing me as the heartless one. Rob only found out the truth because after my payments stopped, Julia asked him for help. That's when he started asking questions. So no, my silence wasn't just noticed. It was exposing things. And now my parents were being forced to pick up the financial slack, just like they had always expected me to, except now they didn't have a choice. When Rob left that night, he said one last thing before getting in his truck. "They'll come around. Probably not the way you want. But they will." I didn't sleep much. Not because I was upset, I was just thinking about how easily they lied. How they built a fake little narrative around themselves. And how maybe, just maybe, I hadn't even scratched the surface of how deep this went. And I was right. Because the next day Emma's school called. My mom had shown up there. Without asking me. Without warning. She brought cupcakes. She wanted to celebrate Emma's birthday. The school secretary called me around 1:15 p.m. Said my mom was in the front office with a box of cupcakes and wanted to know if it was okay for her to drop them off in Emma's class. I asked if she'd already seen Emma. She said no, she came in saying she was surprising her. I told them not to allow it. I didn't owe anyone an explanation. But I still gave one. Quietly, carefully. I said there'd been family issues lately, and that I didn't approve of unscheduled visits. The secretary understood. Said she'd ask my mom to leave and thanked me for being calm. 2 minutes later I got the text. "Seriously? I just wanted to do something nice for Emma. You didn't have to embarrass me. Embarrass her. Not hurt her granddaughter. Not ignore her birthday. The crime was making her feel embarrassed." I didn't answer. I wasn't playing this game anymore. But Emma asked me about it later that night. She said a teacher mentioned her grandma came by. She looked confused. Said, but she already missed it. I just said, "I know." Then I changed the subject and we made popcorn. That night Julia finally cracked. She called me not to scream, not to beg, but to confess. She said my parents were losing it. The mortgage people were calling non-stop, and they had already paid the missed month themselves. but couldn't do both going forward. And then she said something that genuinely stunned me. She asked me to come over. I want you to see something. I debated it. Really debated it. But curiosity won. I told her I'd come the next day after dropping Emma off at school. When I showed up, the house looked fine from the outside. But inside, chaos. Bills everywhere. A shut-off notice from the electric company on the counter. A second notice for late property tax in a drawer she didn't mean for me to open. A whiteboard calendar with "Ask Emily" scrawled across a date from 3 weeks ago. Julia didn't try to hide any of it. She looked exhausted. Not fake exhausted, not dramatic. Just worn down. I messed up, she said. I've messed up a lot of things. But I didn't think you'd actually pull away. You never have before. I didn't say anything. Then she said, Mom and Dad told everyone they were helping me this whole time. They said you were being distant, selfish. That you didn't care about family anymore. I knew that part already thanks to Rob. But hearing it from her, something about that hit differently. She looked at me and said, I didn't stop them. I let them say it. I let them throw you under the bus because it made me look less pathetic. And just like that it shifted. I'd come for vengeance. I got it. But now standing there I realized they weren't just falling apart. They were unraveling. And the next shoe was about to drop. That evening Rob called me again. He said he talked to my dad. Said my dad broke down and admitted they were 2 weeks from defaulting on a credit line they'd opened to help Julia. One I didn't know existed. And that's when I made a decision. Not forgiveness. Not yet. But a shift. Because if they were going to learn anything they needed to feel this. Not just the money but what it really meant to be left out. To be the outsider. I wasn't just walking away. I was going to show them what exclusion really felt like. And it started with Emma. I didn't tell anyone I was planning a second birthday party for Emma. Not my mom, not Julia, and definitely not my dad. This one was for Emma. And only for the people who'd actually shown up in our lives when it counted. It was a Saturday afternoon, a week after her real birthday. I decorated the backyard with streamers, plastic tablecloths, and a cheap unicorn piñata Emma picked out herself. There were maybe 10 people there. 2 of my closest friends, their kids, a couple of Emma's classmates, and to my surprise, Rob. He drove all the way out wearing his work boots and a tired flannel, and handed Emma a Lego set with a card that had a $20 bill folded up inside. Said it was a tradition from when she was a baby. I didn't even know he remembered her birthday. We played music, ate pizza, and Emma laughed so hard at one point that she started hiccuping and had to lie down on the grass to catch her breath. But the moment I'll never forget, the moment that sat in my chest like a brick, was when it was time for cake. Emma stood in front of it, everyone singing, candles lit, and then she turned and looked at the one empty chair at the far side of the table. She didn't say much, just whispered to me, "Can I save that seat for someone next year?" I nodded. "Yeah, baby. We'll see." After the guests left and Emma was upstairs reading, I sat on the couch and scrolled through the pictures on my phone. One of them, the one where she was blowing out her candles, hit me harder than the rest. I sent it in a group text. To my mom, dad, and Julia. No message. No explanation. Just the photo. 2 hours later my mom replied. "She looks beautiful. I'm sorry, Emily. I really am. We made mistakes." I didn't answer. The next day Julia called. Said she had something for Emma and asked if she could come by. Her voice was different. Smaller. Not defensive, just tired. I told her she could come over but not to expect anything. She showed up that evening holding a small box wrapped in purple paper. Inside was a silver necklace with a little cupcake charm. There was a handwritten note inside that just said, "You deserve better. I'll try." Emma opened it slowly like she wasn't sure it was for her. Then she held it for a long time, tracing the charm with her finger. She didn't say thank you right away. Just said, "Oh," and walked to her room. Julia looked at me and said, "I let Mom and Dad tell the story their way. I'm not proud of it." Then she left. No big speech. No tears. Just that. I thought that was it. But the following Friday around sunset there was another knock at my door. It was my dad. He was alone. Holding a plastic bag from Walmart. "Is she home?" he asked. I didn't say anything. Just stepped aside. He walked in slowly like the floor might give way. Emma came downstairs a minute later and just stood there. He handed her the bag. Inside was a small stuffed dog. Cheap white with a pink bow on its head. Not a designer puppy. Not a bribe. Just something. Emma looked at it for a second. Then she hugged it. Tight. That night as I tucked her in I saw the plush dog next to her pillow. She said, "I named her Maybe." I smiled a little confused. "Why Maybe?" He shrugged. Because maybe they'll be better this time. I sat there next to her bed for a while after she fell asleep. Because she still hoped. And the thing is, I didn't know if they'd earn it. But I did know this. I wasn't going to let her hope alone anymore. The first time Emma wore the cupcake necklace to school, she came home smiling. Not because someone complimented it, but because someone asked about it. She said, "I told them it was from Aunt Julia. She's trying to be better now." That sentence stuck with me. Not she's better. Not we're good. Just trying. Kids understand more than we give them credit for. That weekend, Julia asked if she could take Emma to the movies. Just the two of them. I said yes, but I made it clear. One wrong step and we'd go right back to zero. They saw a silly animated thing, ate too much popcorn and came back with matching socks. Cheap ones with sparkly cartoon food on them. Emma acted like she'd won the lottery. A week later, my parents called and asked if they could stop by. I said fine. They brought a gift bag. Books, art supplies, nothing fancy. But it wasn't about what was inside. It was that they handed it to Emma first. Looked her in the eye. Spoke to her like she mattered. They stayed for dinner. It was awkward. A lot of small talk. My dad asked about school, my mom complimented the salad. No one brought up the skipped birthday. The mortgage. The money. The lies. But I didn't press. I just watched. Emma showed them her room. My mom helped her organize a shelf. My dad tried to put batteries in a toy and put one in backward. They both laughed. It was small. But it was real. A few days later, Emma got a letter in the mail. From my parents. Inside was a card with her name in shaky handwriting and a photo of the three of them from that night. On the back in my dad's writing it said, "We missed a lot. We won't miss more." I didn't cry when I read it. Not then. But that night when Emma hung the picture next to her bed and whispered, "I think they're trying really hard now," I felt it. The last crack in the wall I'd built finally gave out. I still haven't resumed the payments on Julia's mortgage. And I don't plan to. But I did help her build a small budget. And for the first time she's sticking to it. They haven't earned full trust. Not yet. But they've started showing up. On time. With presents. Not just gifts. And for Emma's part, she started saving a seat at the table again. No longer empty. This year we celebrated Thanksgiving at my place. Small crowd. Emma helped me set the table. When we were done, she looked around and said, "It's full this time." And it was. Every chair. Every plate. Every person who once made her feel invisible. Now watching her laugh with mashed potatoes on her nose. I still don't forget what happened. I never will. But Emma, she forgave. And maybe that's enough.